Rapid pace out here early in the second. Levert, hey, knocks it down. Rondo's on the run. Stops, hits Love fires. Cavs reset with a fresh 14. Under 3 to go in the half. Garland works on Holiday. Lost it for a moment. Shovels to Mobley. Garland, step back three, drew a foul, knocks it down.
Oh, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, tonight you are listening live to episode number 19 of the All Things Cleveland Cavaliers podcast. If you are watching here on video, you will notice we have a special guest. We will get to her in a second, but first, let me introduce my co-host, regularly, Joey Center.
What's going on, Brandon? Not as fired up as I was last week, so a lot more mellow, back to my mellow self again today. But man, am I excited for today's show. Today we have a very special guest, one of the best contributors to Believeland Media, LLC, writes great articles, one of the hosts of Guardians of the CLE, Miss Melanie Kirby.
How's it going, guys? I, for one, am fired up to not talk about the lockout for an episode, so I'm excited to talk about a team that's in season and doing really well. So thanks for having me.
Well, you are totally welcome. And without further ado, guys, let's get into it because we are coming off an all-star weekend that was in our hometown, Cleveland, Ohio. There was obviously a lot of events from the Rising Stars Challenge to the Skills Challenge to the 3-point contest to the All-Star Game. You notice I skipped one of those events on Saturday night, which we'll get to here in a second. Guys, Joey, I'm just going to start with you. Just give me your thoughts, man, overall on the whole All-Star experience this weekend.
So let's start with the good. The Skills Challenge, I really like I like the format. Really kind of odd in a way, but it was fun to watch. Cavs come out on top. Darius Garland, Jared Allen, Evan Mobley pulling out that victory. So that was fun. The Rising Stars Challenge, I really like the way that they changed the format of that as well. Again, Isaac Okoro, Evan Mobley in that game. They won both their games and won the championship there. Cade Cunningham took home the MVP. He was very deserving of it. I don't believe it was rigged at all. Mobley had a case as well, but that was very fun to watch. 2 more Cavs, another couple victories there. The 3-point contest, I thought was great. I thought they had really, they had some of the best shooters in the league in the 3-point contest, and what an amazing thing to see Karl Anthony Towns win. So that was great. And then the All-Star Game itself, loved to get the new format again. Thought it was really great. And Darius Garland, Jared Allen, Team LeBron taking home the victory once again on a LeBron winning shot, which I don't know how I feel about that. And the city of Cleveland definitely gave Steph Curry his boos when he was announced. But they cheered him at the end because he was just hitting every shot he was putting up from anywhere. I mean, it was just, who would have thought that you would be cheering for a 3-pointer as opposed to, some ridiculously big dunk. So because we didn't get that in the dunk contest, which I'm going in on it right now. That was the most atrocious dunk contest I have ever seen in my entire life. Jalen Green missed 157 dunks. I don't even know how that's possible. Steph Curry had a better 3-point percentage in the All-Star game than Jalen Green did having to dunk. They need to change that up the same way they've changed everything else up. I think that you put $1 million on the line for one of the charities. Get the best dunkers. Ja Morant put up some ridiculous dunks in the All-Star game that just embarrassed the entire dunk contest. So they got to find a way to attract the best high flyers in the league and not just, pull guys out of whoever wants to do it. There has to be some sort of incentive, I think, similar to how MLB does it with the home run contest. Am I right there, Mel? I think it's $1 million, isn't it?
Yep.
Yeah.
To charity. They get a car.
Exactly. And I think that's something the NBA should take out of the MLB playbook and make there an incentive for there to be the best dunkers in the NBA, to put on a show, because it was embarrassing. It was hard to watch. I mean, at some point it became entertaining of how bad it was. So that's my thoughts on it. Mel, what did you think about it?
Yeah, I second that about the dunk contest. That was ridiculous. I actually shut it off. I'm just like, this is ridiculous. I don't think it should be closing out All-Star Saturday night anymore either until they fix it. You had some good suggestions on how to do that. That better be the only thing they take from baseball's playbook, by the way, that format. As far as the All-Star weekend, I think Cleveland as a whole looked beautiful. I mean, I know the weather, was kind of having people nervous. It's Cleveland. It's February. It's going to snow. I thought they were great hosts. But yeah, my favorites, the rising stars in the skills contest. Like, no surprise, the Cavs were in both of those. But is there anything Evan Mobley can't do? It's only fitting, I think, that he hit that half-court shot in the skills challenge. Like, what can't the dude do at this point? It's like every time he steps on the court, he's doing something new. Yeah, I got, nothing but love to Cat for winning the 3-point contest, but Kevin Love should have been there. I think that would have been a cool addition. Especially with it being in Cleveland, but not just that, he's earned it. He's been great from 3 all season. And Jared Allen closing out the game, that was incredible. Like, he came back and he played some outstanding defense on Embiid. And I mean, I know it's an all-star game, but maybe that'll give him some confidence moving forward. Like, all right, it's not fun and I'm getting beat the hell up, but maybe I can defend this guy, if we're playing a 7-game series against him. But yeah, you knew LeBron being back in Cleveland, he was going to make it dramatic. He's got his own little storylines. He does this. We know this. Nobody should be surprised by it. Of course, he had his little interview with Jason Lloyd and, made those comments, but he's one of those guys. He doesn't thrive off the hate. You know what I mean? He wants to be loved, especially coming back home. He drafted DG. That's no mistake. He said as much during that All-Star draft. But he had to love that ovation he got, before the game, because I didn't know how it was going to be. There's always some holdouts who are still going to boo him. They're still going to be mad at him. I don't feel that way. I'll cheer him. He's incredible. He won us a championship. But that's not to say he's not toying with the fans. I don't believe for a second that he wouldn't do something like that. I think he'll probably be back with the Lakers, but when Bronny comes out, we'll see. But overall, excellent showing in Cleveland. Loved it overall.
Well, Mel, as me and Joey talked about last week, I have never been the biggest all-star weekend type of person. I was glad that it was in Cleveland, but I am not a highlight guy. I am not a guy that gets all Kenny Smith and gets excited for the dunk contest. I thought it was a nice weekend. Overall, I thought the highlight of the Saturday night event was Evan Mobley hitting the half-court shot. Not saying that Karl-Anthony Towns winning the 3-point contest wasn't cool, but at the end of the day, a 3-point contest to me is really just shooting. It's fun to watch. But to me, I mean, once Evan Mobley hit that half-court shot, you basically could have turned off the rest of Saturday night. If you're a Cavs fan, you would have been cool with it. I agree with both of your guys' sentiments on the dunk contest. Watching that, it felt like a complete waste of time. And I don't say that a lot about sporting events. I think we all have expectations for different events. Every time we go into an event like this year, I go, this could be one of the greatest events ever, and things never live up to expectations. But this just flat out felt flat. I also thought it was very telling that the crowd Saturday night was not really into it at all. And that's just, it's no disrespect to our Cleveland crowd at all, but it felt like the whole thing was just not executed as well as it could have been as the skills challenge. And then you go into Sunday night, and the All-Star game I thought was good. I thought the first half was really good. I thought they played a little bit more defense. It was a little bit more low scoring, I thought, than a typical All-Star game where you could get up in that 200 type range. It ended up being like the 170 type range. Curry obviously doing his thing. Fun to watch, obviously. LeBron hitting the game-winning shot. Of course, it had to happen. Me and Joey talked about this last week. It felt like LeBron. I predicted him to win MVP. I thought he was going to go off and kind of show the world that he still thought that Rocket Mortgage Steel was still his palace, quote unquote. It did not happen. Steph Curry turned back the clock to when he played us in 4 straight finals. And so overall, it was good, but I think it was just good for all of us to kind of take a break from the regular NBA. It was fun to have all the stars here, just get set. And now we have 24 games left in the regular season. And now it's time and set and roll. But overall, really proud of Cleveland. Heard nothing great from the players and everybody for how it ran. And, I think that's my biggest takeaway.
The one thing that I got to say, and I'm going to say just the last thing on the dunk contest. For as bad as it for me, it essentially turned into a disaster that you couldn't not watch. It's like a movie that's so bad it actually became good, because you don't care what the outcome is. You're just like, wow, this is so bad. I can't turn the channel because how much worse can it possibly get? And it just got worse and worse and worse. So for as bad as it was entertainingly bad. So, like I said, I still agree. I still think they gotta fix the format so we get a good dunk contest. But as far as the one this year, it was fun to watch how bad it was. That's, last thing for me on the All-Star game.
Cole Anthony with the Timbs that he didn't even lace. Didn't he break his finger or something? Was that a true report?
I hope so.
I heard something like that as well. But guys, we got to move on here to our next topic, because as we know, the All-Star break has just ended. And as me and Joey talked about last week, it is okay to admit that, hey, listen, Joey thought the Cavs were going to at least make the play-in tournament at the beginning of the year. I did not think that. I thought this Cavs team was going to be a 12-13 seed in the conference, surprising expectations. One of the reasons for that is because of the new president of basketball operations, obviously getting his promotion, Kobe Altman, and a promotion for new Cavs general manager, Mike Gansey, earning that promotion, a well-deserved promotion. And again, you got to give credit to not only Altman, but Gansey for building this team over the last couple of years, and nobody expected it to happen. And it's just so great because these guys are young, and the Cavs have the ability this year, me and Joey both believe, to potentially win the NBA championship. And that's, again, a credit to new Cavs GM Mike Gansey.
I think it's something that needed to happen, especially with the way that Altman has built this team. He deserved his promotion. Gansey, obviously being, his assistant, deserved his promotion to GM. So congrats to both of those guys. Can't wait to see what they do with this team moving forward. Obviously, we have a lot of stuff still to talk about with that and previewing what's going on. But, good promotions, good moves, just kind of how, kind of like midseason when we gave Bickerstaff his extension. I think it's just something that was inevitable, especially after the season. And I love, Brandon, I love the fact that you admit when you're wrong all the time, because you had the Cavs winning, I think 3.5 games this year. I don't know where you got the half from. So, and I said, I thought that they were at least going to go 500, and, I'm not flexing or anything on that, but I was right so far. I believe that someone threw out their magic number was 23 to get a top 6 seed, which would be pretty awesome. So, we'll see where we go from here. Still got a lot of season left. Mel, any thoughts?
Yeah, I just think, most of the national pundits were 25, 30 wins. Like,
Mhm.
I think ESPN or one of them even had him as the worst in the league. And I mean, I definitely wasn't predicting this kind of success, but I did think, with the growth of the young guys, I thought they'd compete for a play-in, but that was assuming Sexton and Rubio would be in the mix. If you would have told me early on we'd lose both of those guys and have Markkanen miss extended time, the COVID issues, I definitely wouldn't think we'd be where we're at. And I think that early season West Coast trip, like, really helped build some confidence in this team that they went out there and they weren't scared. They weren't overwhelmed by the task. And it's like they set out to prove we're different. We're not that Cavs team from last year, but I just think JB deserves a ton of credit. I mean, I know it's kind of like him and Monty Williams and the Memphis coach kind of battling for coach of the year, but I think if the Cavs finish in that top 6 spot, I don't see how you don't give it to JB. I mean, Phoenix is playing exactly where people predicted they'd be playing. But just making this 3 7-footers work. And DG kind of just brings it together with the lobs and just getting everybody set up. But most of all, getting Love to buy into that 6-man role. I mean, I was ready to give up on Kevin Love. I'll admit that. Like, get rid of him. I don't care. Pay someone to take him at this point. Like, because he was not in it last year. He was not having a good time. And it showed over and over and over again. But I think the 6-man role is perfect for him at this point in his career. It's kind of solved those durability issues that we've been so used to seeing from him. And I really think JB's just getting everything he can out of him. And I mean, Kevin Love's having the most fun playing basketball I think I've ever seen him have. Even on that championship team, he wasn't having this much fun. Like, he's in a different role. And it's just that team ball that everybody talks about. It's not just LeBron dribbling the air out of the ball, till the shot clock's at 3. I mean, this is fun basketball to watch. And I know it's so played out. Like, the Cavs are fun, but like, you run out of things to describe this team because they're just really good and they really do have a shot, like, barring any more major issues. I'm a little concerned about DJ's back. It's just going to be something they're going to have to manage, down the stretch, get into the playoffs. But with everything they've dealt with, all the adversity, like, I couldn't be happier. I'm trying not to, like, get those expectations and start being disappointed when, they have that game where they don't play well, because I think that's what's making it fun. It's that honeymoon phase. Like, man, here they are. Like, these regular season games matter. It's not just like, oh, they're guaranteed to be a top 2 seed. I'll turn them on in April. It's like every regular season game counts. And I think this stretch coming up is, like, really going to determine, the course of their season.
Well, Mel, too, number one, it's okay. I was ready to give up on Kevin Love 3 or 4 years ago. When I was in my college days, I'd be screaming. I guess I'd bring out who wanted to keeping Kevin Love. So listen, I completely understand it. And 2, to your point, listen, I think it's okay to get frustrated with this team at this point if they don't play well. Me and Joey talked about this last week. The expectations for this team is not just getting into the postseason, to me anymore. It is legit Eastern Conference contender. And you're right. Every regular season game does matter. So it's not, turning on the games in April. Oh, we have LeBron. Oh, we have Kevin Love. Oh, we have Kyrie. We'll flip the switch. We are in a legit battle right now with Chicago, Miami, Milwaukee, Philly, 2.5 games back for the number 1 seed in the conference. To me, this is not, a Hawks team from 2015 or a Raptors team from 2018 who just got rolled by our team that clearly had better talent, obviously with LeBron and Kyrie and whoever we add on that team, but we just didn't have the best regular season. No, it's like, if you want to go win in the postseason, these are games you're going to have to take care of. And speaking of taking care of games, we start it off tonight at the time of this recording. We are going to Detroit to take on the Pistons, and we got some interesting lineup decisions to figure out because Lauri Markkanen sounds like he's coming back, but there is no Darius Garland. He's out with a back injury. Caris LeVert sprained his foot. Sounds like he could be missing a couple games. So, Joey, as we talked about last week, our number one goal out of the All-Star break was to figure out this lineup. And here we are tonight. And, who knows what's going to happen with this lineup.
Well, I can promise you Dean Wade will probably be starting at point guard. Because they refuse to take him out of the starting lineup. No, in all honesty, I want to be upset with Darius Garland, because if your back is that bad, you shouldn't have been in the All-Star game. I get it. It was your first All-Star, it was your first All-Star game. You want to take that because it's something you can be proud of for the rest of your career. But at the same time, we are fighting for a top playoff spot. And to kind of go back to what Mel said, Mel, you said you were in, kind of still in the honeymoon phase. Last podcast, Brandon's exact words were, we're out of the honeymoon phase because this team has now proven that they are one of the top teams in the East. So we should be taking care of the teams that are at the bottom of the conference, bottom of the league, and competing and winning, a good portion of the games with the teams that we need to beat. So, kind of going into these next 3 games, which I think are crucial. These are 3 crucial games because, as I said, in prior podcasts, the last 2 actually, it's very easy to slide. It's very easy to, I don't want to say get full of yourselves or think that you have it in the bag, but it's very easy to slide. And you know what? If you look at this Detroit team, I think we're playing Detroit tonight, correct?
Yes.
Yeah. This Detroit team, even though they have a terrible record, they got really good players. They didn't trade Jeremy Grant. They got him back. Sadiq Bey plays extremely tough. You got Cade Cunningham, who's right on the heels of Evan Mobley for Rookie of the Year. It's, I think was Isaiah Stewart at center. It's a tough team. It is really, on paper, they got some good players. So kind of getting back to the original topic, which was starting lineup, I think I don't know if they're going to bring Markkanen off the bench or if they're going to start him. I think that they should, if he can start, you got to start him, because the one thing me and Brandon have talked about is when Markkanen is not in this lineup is a lot more predictable. It seems like teams have not yet figured out how to guard 3 7-footers with Markkanen, Mobley, and Allen on the floor. So you put Okoro at 2, in my opinion, because he's your best defender. He is an elite defender. If he is not, first or second team all defense this year, then I think that there is something absolutely rigged, because he is locked down on any team's best player. And at point guard, as long as it's not Dean Wade or Osman, I'm good. Because can we bring Taco Fall back? Put him in at point guard.
Miles Garrett.
Oh my God. Let's, how about we trade Taco Fall for Miles Garrett?
Who says no?
That's a fair trade.
Yeah, exactly. And some cash considerations. No, honestly, and as Brandon, like we talked last week, I think you got to start Rondo. You got to start Goodwin. We have backup guards. We have them there for a reason. Let's not put a forward in at your point guard position. Let Rondo run the offense. He's a vet. He's an NBA champion. Put him there. Let's try to get Okoro slashing, through the middle. You got Markkanen, 7 foot, who can stretch the floor. I think that, there's really interesting lineups in there. The one thing that I just hate to do, and as we talked about it last week, I don't want to start Chetty, because I think the combination of him and Love off the bench really is a catalyst for a lot of times that the Cavs have had huge, as they call it, Cavalanches. And we didn't term that, but really bringing that energy off the bench. So I would much rather see Rondo start than anyone else. And, we'll see what happens from there.
Yeah, I agree with you on that. I don't want Jetty starting, especially when they started him at the point. It's like he was just trying to worry about too much. It affected his shot. I think him and Love, they really make it happen. They feed off each other. But I think the biggest thing, this kind of stretch coming up, you mentioned these next 3. These are the 3 totally winnable games. They really got to come out come out strong. It's really unfortunate, the timing, of these DG and Levert injuries, because one of my things I was going to be watching for is how Levert adapts. Are they going to start him? Is he going to come off the bench? Is he going to get more comfortable in this offense and not so much ISO ball? We're going to have to unfortunately wait a little bit to get an answer on that. But the biggest thing I'm looking for, after these next 3 games, they got 8 of the next 9 against teams currently in playoff position. That right there, if you come out and you stumble against Detroit, Washington, and Minnesota, you're going to put yourself in a really tough position against, those contending teams that you're going to be starting off March with. So for the Cavs, they can't ever start thinking that they're good enough to simply show up and win. They have to come out and play the brand of basketball that got them here. That'll be, if anything derails this team, that'll be it. Like, don't quit playing your brand of basketball, because Joey's absolutely right. With Lowry on the floor, like, whether he's struggling offensively or not, teams have to account for him. You always have to know where he's at. When you got those 3 7-footers who can stretch the floor, like, that size is going to travel. It's going to travel wherever you go. It's going to travel to the playoffs. He really, helps take some of that pressure off Mobley and Allen too. I think he's got to be in the starting lineup. Agree 100% on Okoro. First or second team for sure. It's got to be this year. But, how are they going to come out too to start the game? Getting down double-digit points in the first quarter, like, they got to break that habit. Whatever is going on, that's, it's like it takes them a whole quarter and a half for their engine to get rolling. And, you look up and, like you said, Detroit whooped them last time they went in there. That's a tough team, and that's a young team who's got nothing to lose. They're coming out, they're playing their hearts out. I was kind of hoping to see Jeremy Grant traded. I think he's a great piece for them. So they better watch themselves tonight. And it sucks. I agree. I would start Rondo 100%. You got Goodwin to back him up. I know they're kind of worried about Rondo's minutes, which, I mean, makes sense. He's like ancient, but you got Goodwin right there, who can play a lot of minutes, but no Dean Wade at point guard, please.
I want to throw this to you, Brandon. One of the things that we've talked about, and Mel, I kind of want to get your thoughts on this too, is we have gotten off to such slow starts lately. And tonight we are going to be missing our 2 best scorers with Darius Garland and Karis LeVert. The two guys who I think on a consistent basis, maybe of any of the Cavs players on a consistent basis that can create their own shot. So if we're going in with Rondo and Okoro, 2 guys whose offensive capabilities are limited, Markkanen, who likes to stand and shoot threes, you're kind of relying for a lot of paint points with Mobley and Allen. So how do we get off to a fast start? Can we get off to a fast start? And if we can't, what then do we have to rely on coming off of the bench to, really kind of propel us? Or is it more of, do we have to play that dirty dog defense that we're known for to levels that we have not played really all season? And we're one of the best defensive teams in the league because we're missing so much firepower tonight. Brandon, I got to know your thoughts.
So ever since Markkanen went out, and Joey, we talked about this last week. I mean, they give up 40 to Embiid. They give up over 40 to Trae Young. It felt like since Markkanen been out there, defense hasn't been as good as it was when he was in there. And I think part of that is, again, the length of Markkanen being that 3rd 7-footer really drives the opposing team crazy because they still don't know how to play against it. So to your point, and I thought about this too, by the way, when you have Rondo and Okoro, whose offensive games are not great, but I think you guys are right in a way of, yes, you're going to rely obviously on more paint points. I think you're going to rely on what have been on more pick and roll with a Rondo Jared Allen combo, and whether they play the role with JA or whether they help off JA and you maybe spread Mobley and Markkanen out to the wing and you hope that they come off and double, maybe you kick it out to them, you hope that they can make that shot. But what I'm hoping is with the defensive mindset that Rondo is because Rondo, when he walks in, he can still play pretty good defense. And Okoro, we know, is a lockdown defender. What I'm hoping is that they can force misses. And so off that miss, Rondo, who is a veteran guard, can get out and they can run quick and they can get a lot of transition points and easy baskets off misses. I think that's what you're hoping for. If it doesn't happen and Detroit comes out like they did, because if you guys recall, the last time we were in Detroit, we actually started the game up 15-0 in that game. And then the lead obviously completely evaporated. But if Detroit comes out shooting hot, well, like Indiana did, like Atlanta did, and like Philly did, I think we go back to what the Cavs have been doing, really over the last couple weeks. And that is mostly in the first quarter and a little bit of the second. It's been Kevin Love coming off the bench and really keeping the Cavs in the game with his couple threes or his 8 points or 10 points in the first quarter until they start getting that rhythm. And so I think that that's what you're really looking for, is either a good start defensively that leads into easy baskets off transition at the other end, or you're going to need Love and Cedi Osman to give you combined 40 to me off the bench.
Yeah, I agree with everything you just said 100%. Mel, I want to get your thoughts too. I do want to actually say a belated happy birthday to the ancient Rajon Rondo, who is 36 years old, almost a full year younger than me. Mel, thank you for that very much. I'm gonna go cry 30, in the bath.
So I'm right behind you. We don't have to go out and play 20-30 minutes a night though.
I'm gonna go cry in the bathroom after the podcast.
You wear it well.
How do you think that we need to come out in this game? Say kind of same question as the Brandon, for Brandon, even tougher defense, which is almost impossible considering how good the Cavs have been this year. One of the best in the league. Or, is there something you see maybe off the bench? What are your thoughts? How do we win this game against the Pistons?
Yeah, I definitely agree with Brandon. Good defense is going to be, our best offense at times, because it's no secret we struggle in the half court a little bit with Darius not out there. But I think another thing too is getting Cedi going early. When he's off and his confidence is shot, he is a liability when he's on the court. He's forcing it. His defense is shaky. But when he gets going and he's hitting shots, that's when you see those Cavalanches, you're talking about. But I would definitely look for some early substitutions. If I were JB and you're getting in a deep hole early, don't be afraid to go to that bench. They always say, like, the way the NBA is today, it's not even really about who's starting the game. Like, what do your lineups look like and how are you closing the game? That's, if you need to bring Kevin Love or Cedi in, 5 minutes, 4 minutes in, so be it. Like, get that offense going at all costs, because I think everybody else is going to feed off that a little bit. But if you have Dean Wade in your lineup too, I mean, he can score like in situations, but he's hurting you offensively. But if you can get Isaac Okoro going, get him out on the break, get him slashing like you mentioned, that's his best weapon offensively on this team. His shot will start falling. Eventually it's going to come in spurts. He's going to continue to progress offensively. But if we can get that slashing from him, easy layups, dunks, I think that's really going to help us with, our two biggest scoring threats out.
One thing, that I want to point out is I've dogged Dean Wade, and it's not that I don't like Dean Wade. And I said this last podcast, there's just players who play better off of the bench. Dean Wade is a player who plays better off of the bench. Same with Cedi Osman. And, just like you said earlier in the podcast, his shot was completely off when he was starting at point guard. He had 12 assists, and it was like, we congratulated him on your 12 assists, but you had 7 points. Mm-hmm. Obviously that hurts the team more than it helps the team. So, I think the one thing that I think, to your point, just real quickly, if we have to bring in these players 4 minutes into the game, and this is, we've talked about how the Cavs have that luxury of having, we don't look at it like a first team and a second team or starters and, your bench. We look at it like there's just a lot of rotational pieces. But if you have to bring those rotational pieces in so early, for me, that kind of means like, okay, we're probably going to be getting beaten fairly easily early on if we got to bring those players in. We need to get off to, I'm not saying we need to be up 20 points or 15 points in the first quarter. We need to be, in the game. It's got to, if it's a competitive game, we got to be in the game. And then you can bring people off the bench to try and bring that extra energy. But we can't get off to these slow starts where we're down 15, 20, at the end of the first quarter, trying to come back like the game against the Pacers, which was a miracle. So, that's just where my head's at. I think that, Garland being out, Levert being out is going to kind of hurt us. I don't think Levert being out is going to hurt us as much as Garland is, though, because Levert was still trying to be worked in. If anything, I think this might be an opportunity to kind of see, okay, where does Levert really fit, depending on, especially, depending on, I shouldn't say depending on, but especially after the All-Star game, because the one thing I'm curious to see is Okoro's offense going to be impacted by how well he played during the All-Star break? In the Rising Stars Challenge, and the fact that, he was involved in a lot of stuff. I kind of want to see how his confidence goes this game. I do kind of want to move on real quick, if it's all right with you guys. We have 2 more games before our next podcast. I believe there might be a fourth in there, but we're just going to cover the next 2. The Wizards at the Cavaliers on Saturday, February 26th, and the Timberwolves at the Cavs on Monday, the 28th. Timberwolves playing very good basketball right now. They're in there in the West. Wizards going to be here first. God, we need to beat the Pistons tonight. If we don't beat the Wizards, we're in trouble. I'm sorry, we're in trouble. So those 2 games right there tonight against the Wizards and even against the Timberwolves, I think the Cavs are just a much better team than all 3 of those teams there. I'm going to say 3-0. I think the Cavs are going to pull it together. As I said, JB and his staff needed to get things going, and I think that they, through the All-Star break, they probably have gone through every scenario in their head as to what they're going to be doing. My prediction for those 3 games are 3-0. Brandon?
So I wrote an article, which you guys can check out on BelieveInMediaOC.com in early February. And I looked at the Cavs February slate, and I said they got 10 games in the month. Their hard games are Philly, Charlotte, and Atlanta. Those were the 3 hardest games. I said they have to win at least 7 of these 10 games. Right now, they are 4-3, which means they would have to win all 3 games to reach the mark that I aimed for at 7-3. Because as we have talked about a little bit today and a little bit last week, this March schedule coming up is a gauntlet with a ton of playoff teams in there. And so you cannot have any room for error, especially when, like I mentioned a little bit earlier, you're 2.5 games back in the number 1 seed. You are literally tied right now for the number 3 seed with Philly, who you're going to see 3 more times, along with the Bucks, who you're going to see at the end of the season. This is actually the last game of the regular season. That could be the difference between getting home court in either the first 2 rounds, maybe getting home court in 1 round, or not getting home court at all in a series. And so you have to make sure you take advantage of the schedule put in front of you. The NBA schedule gods did the Cavs a favor. I don't care who's playing. I don't care what the starting lineup is. We have sat here for the last couple of weeks and said, hey, this team is a legitimate playoff championship contending team. To do that, they must win these 3 games. Joey, I completely agree with you that, listen, Washington, there's no Bradley Beal. They got rid of Montrezl out at the deadline. Their team compared to the Cavs, it ain't even close. They got to take care of Detroit. They got to take care of Washington. Minnesota's got some good players. The 3-point contest champion, winner Karl-Anthony Towns, Anthony Edwards, D'Angelo Russell is still there, but they're not even close to meet to the Cavs. Cavs need to take care of business. Mel, I'm kicking it over to you.
I'd love to see 3-0. I'm thinking it's going to be 2-1. I think either Detroit or Minnesota. I think they're going to slip up. But again, that, like Brandon was just talking about, that 8 out of 9 coming up, that's going to determine whether, we're inching towards the play-in tournament or we're cementing ourselves as a top 4 team getting home court. And they're fully capable of being a top 4 team with home court. And I fully believe JB is going to have these guys come out ready to play. They had 8-9 days off. I fully expect them to maintain what they got going on. I don't think it was an aberration. We only have 24 games left. This isn't even the official midway point. That happened a while ago. If you're still a top 4 team at the All-Star break in the NBA, you're meant to be there. Like it's not a mistake. So that's the things I'm going to be looking for. How long's Levert going to be out? Because again, I'm really curious where they're going to fit him in. Kind of long term. Getting this rotation ready for playoff time. But it's going to be exciting. It's going to be an exciting couple months of basketball. I'm super excited.
One of the things I want to point out, and I'm going to cut you off, Brandon. Just because last night I went and I listened to just a random podcast. I think it ended up being, it was podcast 13. And I just wanted to kind of, go back and relive some memories from, what would that be? Almost 2 months ago. Guess how many games the Cavs were out of first place?
I'm going to guess. Well, I'm going to guess probably very similar because I feel like we've been near the top.
It was 2.5.
Yep.
Yeah,
they were exact. And we've talked about this time and time again. They have not been over to get over that hump. Every time they've had an opportunity, they're 1 game back and they're playing the Pistons and they can't do it. They were a game and a half back and I can't remember who's it. Miami or Chicago was in first. They lost and we were playing another bad team and we lost. I think it was the Rockets, we lost. We can't do that. So, I don't want to look too far ahead. I'm just gonna name these off real quick. This is March's schedule. And this is the reason that Mel, I love you. I hope to God you are wrong. We cannot afford to lose even one.
I'm praying for 3-0, man.
Of these next 3 games.
I'm praying.
Because this is in order, but I'm not going to give the dates because we're going to obviously talk about them every single podcast. But starting in March, the Hornets, the Sixers, the Raptors, the Pacers, the Heat, Bulls, Clippers, Sixers, Nuggets, Pistons, Lakers, Raptors, Bulls, Magic, Mavericks, Hawks.
What happened to this easiest remaining schedule? Like, I feel like the tough part of our schedule just got lumped together right here.
But as I said to Brandon last week, this team is good enough, in my opinion, to beat any team at any time. I think this team it's not a year away. I think this team could win the NBA Finals this year based on what I have seen thus far, which is more than half the season, as you have said. So I don't look at these games and go, oh, these are tough games. I look at these games as opportunities. This is how we propel ourselves to that number 1 seed. These are games that are going to let us know, are we going to be a play-in team and get bounced, or are we going to be able to beat these teams, stay in that top 4 seed, and be able to go to the end of the season going, this team right now should be one of the favorites to go to the Eastern Conference and into the NBA Finals. So this is opportunity. This is an opportunity for the Cavs to show everybody that they're not going to arrive next year, that they are obviously, everyone knows they're dangerous now, but if they win these next 3 games, they're going to be full of fire going into March. And this is going to be this gauntlet that March is going to be how dangerous are they really? So that's my opinion. Hopefully 3-0 these next 3 games, but we will see. I have full faith. Hopefully DG and Levert get back soon. Going to be really fun to see Markkanen play in the night. I can't wait for the games to start. Brandon?
Well, as you guys know, unfortunately, we've had a lot of fun talking Cavs basketball, but it is time to wrap things up for today. So, first of all, Mel, I'm going to let you shout out your podcast, Guardians of the CLE, and if you want to, shout out any social medias.
Yeah, guys, come check out Guardians of the CLE podcast. Comes out on Monday nights every week. As we know, we're in a lockout. Still super fun to listen to. My co-host Max and I got a lot of fun things coming up. We're going to be talking about. Hopefully, we have that rush of free agency and trade activity coming here real soon. So make sure you tune in. You don't want to miss any of the latest news from around baseball as it relates to the Guardians. Give Max and I a follow at MaxwellG24 and at Mellow_NIE91. Thanks for having me, guys.
Joey, go ahead.
Oh, Mel, it was a pleasure having you on the show. It was an absolute blast. Hopefully we get to do it again soon. Hopefully the MLB lockout ends before MLB The Show comes out, because
You're just getting a jump start on not missing the 23 season.
Right. I don't want that to be my only source of baseball as MLB The Show. So, but it was an absolute blast having you on. Thank you so much for being here. Brandon, always a pleasure. Was this 19? Is this 19? 19
this
or
is
20?
episode 19. This is 18 for me. You're doing 19. I had one because of the damn COVID.
I'm losing it. I'm you're 0-1 versus COVID. I am.
I recorded when I had it.
Oh,
I'm 1-0 against
man.
COVID.
Oh,
now you guys make
man.
me feel real bad.
Oh, God. She pulled a Jordan with a flu. Oh, man. But yeah, so much fun. Hopefully we'll see you again soon. And everyone check out Guardians of the CLE. Such a great podcast. Great people. Everyone here, Believe in Media LLC. Check out all the shows. So Brandon, there's only one thing left to do, and you know what it is.
Let them know.